Give me the demons call when they do what they do. And now I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all, I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through, I just gotta get through. Cause I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it.
Welcome back to the PBC. It's your boy PB K9s. Today, we talking about STP's Grand Champion Buck, and we got a little bit of DNA analysis to do with it. You know, so big shout out, big salute to all my brothers and sisters down in the chat, everybody from across this world, from one continent to the next. You know, let's get up on this Buck talk, man. Let's get up on this Grand Champion Buck talk. And this the thing, you know, like I always say, salute to all of the people across the world. We can only go off of stories when it comes to these old dogs. You know, who they bred or who they come off of, or this dog or that dog, or, you know, we can only go by stories, you know, and luckily for when it comes to STP Buck, you know, we have a old schooler who actually had hands-on with these dogs during that time. When I say hands-on, I mean he was actually the one who bred the dog or the one who had the dog. You know, not by a fifth party on the other side of the country that heard a story from another brother, that heard a story from another brother that was close to STP or either Mr. Pat Patrick, you know. So, you know, like I said, we're gonna see what the brothers and sisters talking about, but I'm gonna give you my opinion and my breakdown of it, you know, or what I think or who I think his real Sire is. When I say he, I'm speaking about STP Buck. Now, this the thing, you know, in my breakdown of it, although I know Mr. Pat Patrick said that he did this and he did that and he did this, all we got to do is go by the actual dogs, you know. If you want to be real about it, if you want to be logical, you know, just go by the dogs, man. Go by the dogs, just like the humans. You know, you arguing about who the daddy of that boy is or that girl is, you know, put them beside them. Put one man on this side, one man on this side, put the child in the middle, look at both of them. Sometimes you can't tell because sometimes them brothers look similar. You know, he may be light-skinned, he may be light-skinned, he may be a certain shade of white, he may be a certain shade of white. You know, they may look similar. He may have blue eyes, he may have blue eyes. He may be something, he may be something. You know, sometimes it really looks similar and the person could get confused. You know, but today's, we gonna do it more Povert style, you know what I'm saying? We gonna do it Povert style today and have us a little bit of fun, man. Like I said, y'all hit that like button up. I hope if you rocking with the channel, big thank you, big salute to the brother Ken Lightning for donating to the channel just the other night, you know, and anybody else that donated to the channel that I didn't catch you, you know, big thank you, man. I can't say thank you enough. You know, I can't say thank you enough, but we gotta, and see, I told y'all brothers this right here a long time ago. I told y'all this, man. These brothers from back in the days, they didn't expect this stuff to come out the way it's coming out now in order to run their lie 100 more years. You see, that Big John shit, that Big John sperm, they didn't expect the lie to get put on Front Street the way it's getting put on Front Street now. You know, they didn't expect that back in the 90s when they was coming up with this shit, back in the early 2000s and 2005 and all 2007. You didn't think the lie was gonna come to a head and bust. You know? So that's what we doing now, man. We just looking at STP Buck and we looking at the ones who they say supposed to be his daddy. The Golden Boy dog and Little Tater. You know? How many of y'all brothers think it's Golden Boy is his real daddy? And how many of y'all brothers and sisters think it's now, I mean, I wasn't around back then when they made that breeding. I wasn't, you know, around those guys. But I tell you what, you know, my opinion, STP Buck is 100% the son of Little Tater. You know, if he ain't Little Tater's son, then he ain't neither one of them sons, in my opinion. You know, that's just my opinion. I'm always subject to be wrong. But I just don't see that golden boy dog in STP Buck. When I look at Buck, no matter which picture I look at, I can look at different pictures. I can still see Little Tater in them. You know what I'm saying? I can still see it, but I can't see it in that golden boy picture. Big salute to the brother Jay. Say your initials, fam. That ain't your name. Big salute to the brother Jay that posted the picture of golden boy on Facebook with the color in them. You know, that's one thing. This AI is kind of cool when it comes to bringing color to some of them old school pictures that had black and white. If it's true color, if it's the true form of the dog, if the dog really did look like that, it ain't cool if the dog didn't look like that. Like how they bringing Red Boy, his old school pictures and bringing them out, bringing the old school pictures of the golden boy. That's a old school picture. You know, it's quite a few of these dogs that had the black and white pictures, but they upgraded it, like Tudor's Dabo. You know, several of them dogs from back in the days. And when you look at STP Buck, you don't see golden boy. You know, you don't see that golden boy stuff. Now, when you look at golden boy's pedigree, different than Little Tater's pedigree, is you got the tombstone in it. You know, when you're dealing with the golden boy pedigree, you got the tombstone. You know, when you're dealing with the Tater, you just straight Bolio. Now let's look at golden boy's pedigree real quick, and you see he's coming off of a son of Tombstone, supposed to be. You know, a son of Tombstone, this golden boy's pedigree, son of Tombstone bred to a daughter of Bolio. Got your Tombstone Bolio cross. And, you know, you got the golden boy dog. But when I look at golden boy, I just don't see Buck in him. See, this is the thing I'm saying, right? Even though we know this stuff happened back in the days, there need to be some type of, like, what kind of punishment do these old school breeders get for making all these fake pedigrees, for lying and stuff like that? What kind of punishment do they get? They don't get nothing, even though they don't care about it now because most of them are out of the game, you know. But at the end of the day, brothers shouldn't have to be here in 2026 going back and forth with who is STP Buck Daddy or who is Buck Daddy. I mean, I'm just gonna give you an example. I will get reprimanded for having a dog off Buck and the pedigree not right. I will be reprimanded for saying that this dog come off a Buck and this dog don't come off a Buck. They'll kick me out of the registry probably. They'll just kick the dog out the registry probably. You know what I'm saying? But how can you kick me out when the man who had my dog daddy did the same thing? Or my dog granddaddy did the same thing. How can you kick me out? You know, when the Buck wasn't even right from the start. You know, they leading by bad example is what that's called. You know, you can't punish the little man down here when he getting it from the big man. That's all I'm saying. You know, and if you lied for 10, 20 years and then pop up on the 30th year talking about, oh, I was lying back then. I was lying back then. This is the daddy. How can we really believe you other than looking at the dog and making our own judgment? We really can't believe, you know, nothing you say. You know, and like I said, we just talking about the STP Buck. We talking about the dogs that's supposed to be his sire, which is the Patrick's Golden Boy dog, which is your Tombstone Bolio, and the Patrick's Little Tater, you know. Now, when you look at Golden Boy, you don't really see nothing else that he produced that's really worth a damn. You know, as far as his offspring, you don't really see nothing else besides Buck. The dog Golden Boy doesn't have one other champion in this offspring, not even one. You know, so it's starting to look like it's the Little Tater dog. Now, when I go to Little Tater, shit, you go to Little Tater, he ain't got no champions, nothing besides Buck. Buck the only champion in Little Tater pedigree and Golden Boy's pedigree. You know, so I mean, at the end of the day, man, right now all we can do is have good conversation about it. It don't really matter no more. There's no punishing going on for none of them dogs from that era. There was never no punishing going on for none of them dogs in that era. They did what they wanted to do. They gave it to you how they wanted to give it to you, and we had to take it how we got it. You know, luckily, we had certain brothers from the old school that come back up on some of these channels and other things and other platforms and give the real on what happened. Like we had brothers that were saying a while ago, Yellow was given to David Tantnem from a fellow in South Carolina. I asked the fellow to come give his story. He never came and gave his story. So I really couldn't run with that narrative that, it was a black fella, is what brothers were saying. It was a black fella that had Yellow. He gave him to David Tantnem and Mr. Cruz, you know, or he sold it to him at that particular time or whatever. I couldn't go with that narrative because you can't just tell me something on Facebook and I'm going to run with it. You got to bring the story up here, you know? Like what kind of story would the brother that gave us the story from David Tant, right? How would that story affect y'all? Or how would you look at that story if I would have typed it out? You know, putting, this dog, David Tant had so-and-so dogs, and just typing it on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't have felt the effect of it like that. You know? You wouldn't even thought about it 10 seconds if I would have just typed it up there. Or you just typing some bullshit. But when you hear it from people that been through it. You hear it from people that was there. It gives you a different feel. You know? Totally different feel. And like I said, man, when it comes to STP Buck, great dog, it don't matter at this point. It really don't matter who he's off of, just like Red Boy. You know, it's so far in the back. These brothers that made so many breedings off these dogs. You know, the only way you will feel like you've been shitted, or the only way you'll feel like you got something different than what you really thought you had, is if you relying on the shit that made damn STP Buck. That's why I keep telling brothers, rely on what you got in your yard. Know what you got in your yard, got a pedigree on it, so you can look in your pedigree and see how these dogs bred. That's where the important part comes in at, to the brothers that want to say, pedigrees ain't important. If they ain't important, why so-and-so do this or why? Pedigrees are very important. They just aren't important to the work, you know? And if you can't comprehend what makes pedigrees important and what makes them unimportant, then you need to start back over in the beginning of the dog game. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and take your time and just learn. You know what I'm saying? Just learn. Because when you look at them pedigrees and you start looking at the dogs, and every dog in this pedigree is not a working dog. Some of these dogs, they just pit bulls, but they're not real deal working dogs. But they offer this and they offer that. Everybody not breeding for high quality working dogs. You know, high driven working dogs. Some people got content with them pedigrees, how fancy they look, you know. Some people got content with making that money. Oh, you want this pedigree? It look fancy as hell. This is a Rolls Royce. Boom, give me them couple $1,000. They don't care about making you a real deal working dog. Not worrying about if you coming back or not. Not worrying about nothing you tell the next person. I got the pedigree, here you go. And we see this same thing going down in modern day time that we saw going down back in the days, or that we see now was going down back in the days. You know, Tant, Pat, Patrick, all of them did it. That's just two. Help me name some more. Big John, them lying about that damn sperm. That's three. You know, help me name some more. They say Mr. Crenshaw did something funny with that blackjack dog. That's another one. You know? And that's just that little error. Imagine the ones that did something before their era and the ones that did it after their era, but before this era. Y'all brothers think people be trolling when they say, oh, how you get a tricolor Rottweiler color dog with the patterns, you know, the Willow Peak eyebrow. How you get that when I look at the pedigree, see, this is when the pedigree matters. In situations like this, you know, when I look at every single dog in that pedigree, where does this come from? Line them up from the top to the bottom. Where does this come from? I'm looking at all of them. It don't take me nothing but a split second. If it's a funny color up in there, I go to the 4th generation. When I get to the 4th generation, I start at the very top. I look at that color that this dog is. Give you an example. If I said the tricolor, the Rottweiler color dogs, okay, I got a Rottweiler color dog. I start in the 4th generation at the very top. And I come down one by one. Does that contain any of these colors in it? No. Does that contain any of these colors in it? Nope. You know, does that contain any of these colors in it? Nope. Now, what I will say is, we know the Bolio dogs give you that look with the Willow Peak eyebrows I'm talking about. You know, some brothers have said the Boyos dogs, but that goes back to the Bolio dogs. If all Boyos dogs must have dirty money in them. Not dirty money, dirty Mary. If you can't have a Boyos dog, as far as the line of dogs he's running, because I keep telling brothers, all the Boyos dogs might not be the Boyos dogs. It depends on, you got some brothers that run off a line, and then you got brothers who run off their name, like Garner. Like you saying you're going to get a Garner dog, that don't guarantee that's going to be an Eli dog. It don't guarantee it's going to be a Red Boy dog. It's guaranteed it's going to be a Mr. Garner dog. So when it comes to breeders like him, you have to say, what kind of dog does he have? That's why I say Mr. Boyles. What kind of dog did he have? And if you got a Boyles dog, must it possess Dirty Mary? Now, Dirty Mary is coming down off Bolio with him, so it's cool if Dirty Mary have the Willow Peak markings, because many of them Bolio dogs have them very same markings, right? So my thing is, and I asked this before, you know, how long are we going to say these traits stay in these dogs? 40 years, 50 years? So my dog I keep telling brothers, man, I mean, I just don't know how we can go so far back sometime to try to make an excuse for some of this stuff, some of these colors and different things and patterns these dogs be having. We'll go back 60 years. And we didn't breed into none of that stuff that had that color for 60 years. The offspring wasn't coming out that color. Nothing else was coming out that color. Then all of a sudden, it pops out this color. And then brothers have the nerve to say, oh, this go back to the Jocko stuff, or this go back to the Jeep stuff, or this go back to this stuff, you know, that made that color. And it just ain't right. It ain't right now. It wasn't right back then. You know what I'm saying? And then the thing about it, you know, we be cutting these old school dog breeders slack. You know, you be cutting them a lot of slack because you don't get on their ass the way you get on these modern day brothers' ass when it comes to the shit that they doing. Oh, when I go to do it, you see I'm hating. Oh, I'm hating. I can't be this or I can't be that. But that's the way the dog game is, man. You've been conditioned. While y'all worrying about how y'all conditioning them dogs, y'all have been conditioned to see things certain ways. You know? See things certain ways, my brothers. At the end of the day, you know, it's all about having what you thought you had, getting what you want when it comes to these dogs. Since brothers got to pay high, I hate it for a brother that got to pay high for a damn dog in modern day time, and then the dog ain't offer what you say it is. You tell me it's Red Boy Jocko and this damn Eli, and you charging me super high. That's the game we living in now. You know, that's the dog game we living in today's time, where money control everything. You know, it ain't the dog. Slowly but surely, we got away from the dogs and got to the money. When the whole program was built off of having the best dog. You see, them bully brothers, they don't gotta breed the way we gotta breed. You know, they can breed the curs for 10 years straight. It don't matter because they trying to get a certain structure and a certain look, which the cur dogs might have the best. So it don't matter if they bred the 5 curs back to back. These motherfuckers won't growl a lick. That shit don't matter to what they got going on. They need the structure, the color, and the look. But when it come to us, we got working dogs, you know, bred to work. If we don't pay attention to the breeding, then, you know, our dogs start drifting off in a whole nother direction. You know, so I mean, like I said, man, all this social media, all this type of stuff, a lot of, pay attention when you hear these old schoolers say, social media messed this up. Social media what brought a lot of that old school bullshit to the head and to the table. They let you see that these brothers, yeah, they were doing their thing back then. But that wasn't the only thing they was doing. They were lying and shit too as well. Saying this and talking about this and knowing that shit ain't, man, listen here. So that's what brings me to this video today of STP Buck. I done spoke about this already one time when the brother told me that Buck had all the tombstone in him. That was the right pedigree for Buck, you know. But I was told on more than one occasion that the right pedigree for Buck is a pure Bolio dog with no tombstone in it at all, coming off Little Tater and not Golden Boy. More than one occasion I was told that. And now I'm to the point where I just want to look at the dogs, look at this one, and where my dog come from. So you telling me, right, Mayday or a Mayday dog is the father of my brand new puppies, right? I'm telling you they off Eli. No Mayday them at all. One of my homeboys get up here and say, those dogs that her selling is Mayday dogs. Them ain't no Eli dogs. 30 years down the line, right? 30 years down the line. So now we got the dog that they say is really the daddy, which is a Mayday dog. They got the Eli dog. And then you got the puppies that I had that grew up to be grown dogs. Some brother took all 3 of them dogs, lined them up together, looking at them. You don't think you'll be able to tell a Mayday dog? If that, now I'm gonna say this. There have been Mayday dogs where you can look at them and you can't tell there's Mayday in them, period. You know, a lot of them. But some of them, a good bit of them, you can just look at that dog and say, oh, that's got some Mayday in them. Oh, that got some yellow in them. Oh, that got some Jeep in them. You know, I used to be that good. I used to be that good where I can look at them and call the Jeep ones out. But I kind of fell off a little bit on that because of these breedings that they making. They going different routes with it, you know, in different colors and different things. And different looks with it as well. You know? But yeah, man, it's a big mystery when it comes to these dogs. You know, it's a big mystery, a big bubblegum tub of different flavors, all different kind of stuff. And the thing is, it's almost to the point where you just reach your hand in and get what you get. You know, hopefully it's what they say it is. You know, and I'm talking about at least, okay, we line up every dog man from South Carolina to California. They got dogs and women. They got pit bulls, you know. And we take all these dogs. Just say we took everybody dog, grown dogs from South Carolina to California, and we did a poll on them, you know, and all together we came up with, say, 10,000 dogs, right? Now we're going to take that back. Let's just say we came up with 3,000 dogs, right? Now, out of this 3,000 dogs, give me a truthful, be truthful with yourself, brother, sister down in that chat. Be truthful with yourself. Give me a truthful percentage of these 3,000 dogs that we tallied up, adult dogs that we tallied up from everybody that we know from Maine to Florida to California. 3,000, right? Now, out of these 3,000 dogs, like I said, give me the truth. How many of them dogs you think is really off of what they say they off? Excuse me, what they say they off of? And when I say what they say they off of, that don't necessarily mean the brother that got the dog right now. It could mean what they were saying they was off of 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you know? It might be ain't changed up nothing in the last 20 years. The Florida flip was made in the 90s. The Florida flip was made in 2001, 2002. They made a switcheroo. In 97, they made a switcheroo. 95, they made a switcheroo. 92, they made a switcheroo with Grand Champagne Yellow. And we still paying the price for that right now. I can say one YouTuber kennel, full up with bootleg. Full up with bootleg. Oh, it ain't his fault. You know, it ain't his fault because he didn't know the South Carolina politics. You know what I'm saying? He didn't know what was going down with Yellow, how it really was going down. Listen, man, listen. Anybody with common sense, man. Anybody with a little bit of sense, right? Check this out. Mr. Cruz and Mr. Tent own that dog together. Such a hellified dog. A dog that went down in history like Grand Champagne Yellow. Why, when you have co-owners, two people that own a dog, why do you notice that Mr. Cruz fell all the way back off Grand Champagne Yellow? He didn't base his yard off Grand Champagne Yellow. Why do you think that happened like that? You got to pay attention to what's going on around you, man. And then maybe you'll understand and maybe you'll see that some of the stuff that we're talking about is not fairy tale or fiction. You know, you're not even far from the corner. You don't see Mr. Cruz, you don't see Mr. Cruz breed into no yellow dogs. After him and Mr. Tent separated, doing their own thing. You don't see when he got that Cruz Rocky and he breeding all that Cruz Rocky stuff. Now, Tent was still over there breeding yellow. But Mr. Cruz wasn't. Some bulldogs have a decency about themselves. They have morals. You know what I'm saying? Some bulldogs do. But that money blinds a lot of them. You know, the money will blind them. Brothers start getting that. It don't make no difference. You know, I'm selling puppies off Mellow Yellow and Fletcher. I'm selling puppies off Fletcher. They going. Oh, Fletcher passed away. Oh, I gotta go get a dog from Dog Pound. I know somebody got a red nose. I get that cream red nose. Still breeding, still making money. You know, the dog only lived that he was 7 to 8 years old. But in my yard, he lived till he was 15. You know, he just died 7 years ago. but we got the fill-in, the replacement. Now let's take a 2-minute break so we can talk about some of the stuff in this Pitbull encyclopedia that y'all brothers and sisters need to be going to buy. Let's go to the chapter 15 where we're talking about dog food. And got different brands of dog food in here, right? Now, when you're looking at these dog foods, this some of the dog food that brothers use in these keeps. You know what I'm saying? You got your puppy chow now. I'm always say puppy chow. It's gonna be your how can I put it? Your people try to count puppy chow, but puppy chow is the best dog food for puppies. As far as stuff that's formulated for the puppies. You got all the nutrients and stuff that you need in there, and you know that you got the nutrients and stuff that you need in there for them puppies. Now I want to show you some dog food that used to be around here real heavy, and you used to could find it in the like the gas stations and stuff like that. You pull up in the gas station, certain gas stations had it out in them country areas. You pull up there, they might have about 10, 15 bags. And it's cheap, $20-some a bag and stuff like that. And it's 40-pound, 50-pound bag, and it's good dog food. The Sunshine, the yellow bag right there. That Sunshine. And then over here, this is a good dog food that I was using. The River Run. That River Run, you can get it in different percentages. 28, 24, 20, 28, 20, 30 something, 20, 18, 16, another food that I hear that we got over here, but I hear brothers saying that's good for game dogs is Showtime, and I've even heard, that's the Showtime right there, and the Showtime come in different color bags as well, different percentages in the food, but I've heard and I've seen this myself to where they had a dog fighting article that I was reading, right? And it was talking about the dog foods that dog fighters feed their dogs, and they spoke about Showtime, saying Showtime was a dog fighter food, and of course you got your value pack right here, got your value pack black bag, Now I'm gonna tell you like this here. This page right here, I done use every dog food on this page. Showtime, River Run, Sunshine, and the value pack. Now the Iams, I have fed maybe one time before. Iams is a kind of an older breed an older product. It's from back in the days when that Uber Canuba was out. Iams was always good dog food, and it was a little more expensive back in the days. So I really wasn't big on getting it. And by the time the modern day time came, I just wasn't even paying attention to Iams no more. Because of the price, if I pay that price for the Iams, I might as well get me a bag of Blue Buffalo or something like that. None of these foods right here I really use. Now, the Origin, hey, brother say that's some hellified food. You know what I'm saying? That Origin, brother say it's some hellified food. Now, Taste of the Wild, and that Blue Wilderness and that Blue Buffalo is that's some go-to dog food when you got them in a workout program or you got puppies that you're trying to feed, And like I always say, man, each one teach one when it comes to these dogs, It's this dog game is to a point where it's almost like brothers want to say, oh, I got this knowledge. Oh, I know this. I'm going to keep it from him. Or I know that I know more than what he know. Each one teach one, man. Because the information that you know that you may be hiding from another brother because you feel like you want to keep him from knowing it, that might be the same information that keep you from knowing, keep you from finding out that your shit ain't really bred how you thought it was bred. Each one teach one, man. Because check it out, right? If the brother would have never interviewed Pat Patrick, the brother that gave you the great interview with Pat Patrick, if he would have never interviewed Pat, who would have knew that Buck was off of Little Tater instead of Golden Boy. You know? Who would have knew that? None of us. You know? At all. And not this is what, since we're looking in the book, I'm gonna keep going. You know? If you paid attention to the book, when I talked about Red Boy, you know, this is his chapter. When I talk about Red Boy, and right here you look up in the corner, you see the mystery van, the mystery machine, Scooby-Doo and Scrappy and all them, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy and all them. The mystery van. I'm letting you know in this documentation, in this book, you know, everything ain't right with Red Boy. It wasn't right with Red Boy. But Red Boy is older than the majority of you brothers that's getting these dogs. You know? So, you know, you won't really understand it the way other brothers understand it. Or you really won't pay attention to it or feel it the way other brothers feel it. You know? And like we start looking at dogs like Barracuda and different dogs and say they got this in them and say these dogs got, you know, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? We do, I'm telling you what we do in this dog game. We do more imagining, we do more making up shit, and we do more trolling than we do facing and focusing on the real shit. You know? You got 3 or 4 big time dog men right now in the United States that ain't going nowhere. They ain't going to no prison, but they done been busted. Actively going on. Big kennels. But you rather focus on and troll. You rather focus on and troll and try to talk all kind of crazy shit to situations that ain't relevant. You know? I ain't had one person. I haven't had one mother effer hit me up outside of my brothers who give me that news, them PBC satellites from outer space and them CNN satellites. Even though I don't use the CNN satellites that much no more, they still up there and I still chime into them time to time. But outside of what I'm getting from my satellites, this dog community likes to hide certain things. You know? Hide it. They pick and choose. They move the goalposts and they do anything they can to keep the breeders that they like in a good manner. You know? Which is understandable. But at the end of the day, he's got to be real with yourself, man. You know what I'm saying? Like this right here, right? Let me show you something. You got to be real with yourself. Give me a second. Give me a quick second. Show you something. Give me a quick second. Okay. You got to be real with yourself sometime. See, right here you got Saber 2000. It don't matter what y'all change it to on none of them registries, ADBA or Bonafide. This motherfucker's written in the book, Saber 2000. Hacksaw and Saber 2000 bred, they got Mellow Yellow and Fletcher. You know what I'm saying? And Mango and Molly. You know? That's Saber 2000 and Hacksaw. So 30 years down the line, you ain't gonna need no Pat Patrick. For one, PBK already told y'all, a lot of y'all gonna remember it anyway. And then it's right here in the book, man. In the mother effing book. He don't say no Pandora. It say Saber 2000. What I named the bitch. You know? You wouldn't even salute to all my brothers out there, all my sisters out there with them big John dogs, them little John dogs. But understand this picture right here of Hacksaw. I'm the reason you know how Hacksaw look. You know what I'm saying? And then folk got the real ped, real. Anytime you see a walking out dog that says real ped, just know it was entered by a fake dog man. When you see the walking out pedigrees that says real ped, blah, 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 real ped, blah, 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 that was entered by a fake dog man. You know, and like I said, this book gonna be around for a lot longer, you know, than some of them registries. Not saying the registry won't be around, but it might not be the same name. This is what I do want to say about Bolio, you know, outside of, and we're going to compare him to Chinaman, him to Eli to see why I be talking about so much, you know. All right, now, chapter 24 speaks about Bolio. All right, now, my thing is, you know how we always say what dogs came off of Eli? Reputable dogs. Now, I know it's a lot of reputable dogs that came off Eli, you know, but I mean that you know who, everybody know the dogs, you know, there's not no dog that's hidden secret over here, you know. So when we go to Bolio, I had to show the reputable dogs coming down off Bolio. Now, you know you got the Buck dog. You got 357, Ratliff Buckus, Patrick's Red Baby, Kincaid's Rollo, Ford's Miss Chew, Lewis's Princess, Hollingsworth Dolly, Joe's Red Pirate, Macho Buck, you got the Blondie dog, you got Miss Leaky, the Miss Leaky dog, Strictly Business, Buster B, Roberto's Ginger, I mean, it's a lot of dogs. You got your yellow buck dog. Got the infamous Little Tater right there. You know, so Bolio produced a lot of great dogs. That's the headstones of a lot of dogs today, in today's time. You know, a lot of reputable dogs, I should say, he produced. You know, when it come to Eli, is it that many dogs? Can I find this many dogs? And this is not even all of them. But can I find this many dogs that say they reputable dogs off Eli? Maybe can, and I may can't. You know, we talk about the pioneers. I even speak about the pioneers, you know, in this book, man. You know, the people who had these dogs back when segregation was legal, you know, back when just 1900s. That's all I gotta say. 1905, 1910, 1890, you know, 1880 something, 1920, 1930, 1940, you know. The pioneers of this dog, man. And I give you a lot of information on the pioneers. A lot of old pictures. And this the thing, right? Sometimes I wonder, because we look at some of them pictures and a picture could say a million things, you know. Sometimes I wonder, and a lot of them old school pictures, was the dog a prop? What I mean by that is, was the dog owned by the picture man? And maybe everybody who came in here to take a picture, you know how they got the backgrounds? The background for the day is the pit bull. Come over here and sit with this pit bull. Come over here and sit with this dog. You know, that's the background. Or that's the, you know, pretty much, like I said, the background, yeah. So sometimes I wonder, is these dogs, or do these dogs actually belong to the people that's taking the pictures with the dog? Or do these dogs belong to the man who taking the pictures, and everybody who come to take pictures that day gonna sit with the dog? I always wonder that, man. You know what I'm saying? They always say, I want to say Jack Johnson was one of the first black men to have pit bulls back in the days. But they don't really got no information on the actual dogs he had outside of dealing with Mr. Kobe and stuff like that. I'm quite sure that he would have had a lot of Kobe dogs back in them days. But at the same time, Jack Johnson would have been in a better situation to transport dogs from Europe to the United States than Mr. Kobe and the rest of them. Jack was traveling in the world. It wouldn't have been nothing for him to bring back a dog from Ireland. You know, maybe Jack Johnson was the reason some of these brothers in the United States, I said maybe he was the reason some of these brothers got the dogs that they got, because he was the one doing the traveling. Not saying none of these other brothers wasn't, but Jack, everybody noticed, Jack was all across the world. You know? But I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, man. You know, we even speak about the gator dog. We speak about the gator dog in here. We speak about all of them. You know, the old school bloodlines, Mr. Hammonds. All them famous Hammonds dogs and different things. Now, when I wrote this book, I did a Game Dog Hall of Fame. You know, I did a European Game Dog Hall of Fame, and I did a South American Game Dog Hall of Fame. South American Game Dog Hall of Fame, you got Kuroda. You got Serge the Great, or Sega the Great. That's a dog named Steven with this Mexican brother, with this Spanish brother in the bottom. Dog named Steven. Bashir. Del Mantos Pipeline. Revolutions. Big salute out to the brother. They hit me up in my comments. Let me get the interview, brother. Revolutions. Bola de Fugo. Bola de Fugo. That's right there. Like I said, I did a South America, basically a North America, and a European Game Dog Hall of Fame. You got Black Rock's Cheyenne, or Cheyenne, yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. Layita's Gold Day, the Gold Day dog, the Mutt dog. You got Nachita, you know, Cadillac Kennels Nachita is representing from the South America Game Dog Hall of Fame. You know? And Nachita made a Game Dog Hall of Fame for particular reasons. You know what I'm saying? Not just being a great bulldog, but for particular reasons, that dog made a Game Dog Hall of Fame. Then you got Black Rock's Nitro. you know. Then it's breakdown to anybody that don't really know the bloodlines. When we say Red Boy, Jocko, this and that, this is the book you need to get. This tell you about Jocko, and it tell you about a Red Boy. And that way you can understand what we say when we say Red Boy Jocko or Eli. This telling you about all them dogs. Gator. So you'll know a black dog ain't a Gator dog. It got to be coming off Gator. The real dog named Gator. Just because it's black, that don't mean shit. You know? But this is what you need, man, to get your knowledge up when it comes to these dogs. Got the termite. Got a whole chapter talking about the termite stuff. You know? We're talking about health problems. This a chapter about Mr. Carl Cruz. You know, strictly about Mr. Cruz and the dogs that he was running. Stizzo team. You know, Stizzo teams. Canelo right there. And I'm speaking about 3 different dogs in this particular chapter that them guys had. Three different dogs. Now, and then I just got a bunch of pit bulls from the 21st century. Pedigrees, pit bulls from this time frame, and they pedigrees and different things in here. You know? Got Fletcher right there. Got Buck right there. You got Lou Kane right there. You got William Saki right there, you know. And you got this dog Candyman. I used to hear people talking about him back in the days. There's a lot of dogs in here, man, with the pedigrees. You got the Glock right here. Killer Clowns, Mr. Bojangles. You got Big John. You got Tupper's Freebie right here. Going Hard. You got Going Hard to Brat right there. And by the way, Going Hard to Brat, she was in the American Game Dog Hall of Fame. You know. And Mellow Yellow, right there on the very bottom, the last one on that page. But yeah, man, just talking a little bit about these dogs, just getting this, today's topic, we was talking about Grand Champion Buck, who is his true daddy, who is his true father. Is it Patrick's Golden Boy, or is it Patrick's Little Tater? And when you look at these dogs side by side, feature for feature, structure for structure, look for look, in my opinion, all the apples fall to Little Tater, being the daddy. Take away Patrick saying he made that breeding, and we just looking at the dogs themselves trying to come up with an answer. In my opinion, you know, just my guess, looking at them, everything falling towards Little Tater. You know, Buck looks just like him. And that leaves STP Buck with a very high Bolio percentage in him. No tombstone. There's a difference in the offspring of these dogs with no tombstone in them and the dogs with tombstone in them. Is what I said a few weeks ago. Look at the dogs that bred with tombstone, that made great dogs, tombstone Bolio. and look at the dogs that's strictly Bolio that bred. Look at your Boss dogs that's coming down off the Dirty Mary stuff. Dirty Mary not Tombstone Bolio. She got the Bolio in her. And look how our offspring turn out. You know, look how our offspring turn out. Trinkle, trink, 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 trink. So that's why I say, man, that's why, and I said this a while ago. Did the Tombstone cut back on the Bolio? Like, was that Bolio that shit until you got the Tombstone with it? And then that kind of mellowed it out a little bit? And yes, I'm saying this because Mayday got Tombstone in them. You know, Mayday got Tombstone in them. But in my opinion, Buck was the better breeder or better producer than Mayday, in my opinion. And then that'll go tick for tack, argument for argument, because a lot of Mayday dogs were bigger than a lot of them Buck dogs came out. I'm talking about the overall size. A lot of the Buck dogs was big as well, but the Mayday dogs, a lot of them were really bigger to the point where you couldn't really say they can compete against each other. But in my opinion, like I said, Buck was the better producer. You know, Buck been on the old school rum list. Mayday just came up on the rum list when Frisco came up on the rum list. You know, because Frisco wasn't on the rum list back in the days when when the Sporting Dog Journal and all that stuff was out. Frisco got up on the rum list in modern day time, as well as Mayday, modern day time. Back in the days, it was Yellow, Jeep, and it was a couple more. I'm talking about the top 5. It wasn't Mayday, and it wasn't the other dog that I just said. Frisco. So like I said, man, just my opinion, nothing else, my brothers. Nothing else. You know, doing what we do with these dogs, get your copy of this book if you don't got it yet. You know, you're going to be behind times when I drop the next one and you ain't even got the first one yet. You know, so go ahead and get your copy, man. Do what you got to do. Juice up your arsenal when it comes to your library. You know, and just stay on point. Stay on top of the game when it comes to the dogs if you're dealing with them. You know, don't believe everything you hear and half the stuff that you see. Oh, he can show you a dog that say this off Eli, say this dog is off Ham, but really it ain't. So that's why I say you can't really, some of the shit that you see you can't trust. A lot of it. But I mean, all you can do is try to make the best dogs that you can make. Try to take care of them the best you can. Try to do the most research you can on these dogs to learn the families that they coming from, like Mr. Mayfield was speaking about when he's talking about the families before his time. Now we speaking about the families during his time. You see, Mr. Mayfield was talking about all the dogs that they was buying from different brothers and the families that they came from, the Lightner, the Kobe. Now we talking about the families that we got our dogs from, which would be that Mayfield era, and which dogs is the purest families and which dogs aren't. You know, a lot of y'all didn't even understand what Mayfield was saying about Carver when he said that Carver wasn't running a family of dogs. He had a dog over here, a dog from here, a dog from here, a dog from here, a dog from here, and a dog from there. And then it goes back to what I just told y'all. Because your dog say Carver's Blackjack, because your dog say Carver's Ren and Stimpy, because your dog say Carver's yellow girl, because your dog say Carver's Cannon, you thinking all these dogs coming from the same family. No, they're not. So you got to do your research. You got to understand and pay attention out here. And remember, some of these kennels, they had multiple kind of dogs. They wasn't just running one kind, you know? So when you see their name, don't just say, oh, okay, like when I give you the Big John dogs, when you see Welcome All so-and-so, you know they was only running one kind of dog, you know? So you can expect what you're gonna get from them. And I'm not talking about quality, I'm talking about what kind of bloodline you're gonna get from them. But when I say Garner, you don't know what bloodline you're gonna get because he got multiple bloods on his yard. You know what he started with, you know, but he got multiple bloods. I seen him advertising some Gary Hammond's alligator stuff the other day. You know, so he got a little bit of this and a little bit of that over there. And it's some old school kennels that was just like that. This joker may got 10 different kind of blood, 10 different families on his yard. But these brothers get their dogs from him, and a Carver this, a Carver that. You think they coming from all one family. But it ain't, you know. And I ain't gonna keep y'all here too long, man. You know, I hope y'all having a great day. I hope y'all had a great day, having a great evening, had a great evening. Just depends on when you're watching this video. Some brothers get up early in the morning and they watch it. Some people, when we're watching it right now, it may be 8 o'clock over here in the evening, but it may be 8 o'clock over there in the morning. So we have different people watching it at different times, man. I want to say a big thank you to all the brothers out there that be watching the shows, that be representing, and that be following my channel. And like I said, hit that like button up, man. Hit that like button up, totally free. Hit that subscribe button up. You got to hit one of them. I want you to hit both of them up. But if you ain't hitting both of them up, hit this like button up right now and come back and hit the subscribe button later if you ain't going to do both of them at once. I never seen people that just turn down free stuff until it ain't free no more, and then you're trying to get it for free again. Y'all stay safe out there. Y'all stay legal, PB K9s, and I'm out.